running around on stage with the Tesla stock price where the stock price had gone in half, and he was overjoyed. What an evil thing to do! What a creep! What a jerk! Like who derives joy?
Imagine America without Tesla, without Starlink, without green John Deere tractors rumbling through the morning fields. Imagine that one day everything you considered symbols of strength, progress, and national pride collapses. Sounds like science fiction? Not anymore. This is the reality we are waking up to right now.
I mean, the things that he's doing is not trying to make America better. He's ruining our infrastructure, every department in our government. He's ruining, and he's right now destroying our economy. He's taken away all of our allies. We're a pariah in the world.
It all started with a shocking announcement. John Deere, a company that has built the rural economy for decades, is closing its factories in the US and moving to Mexico. The reason? Cost-cutting, new logistics chains, the global market. But the price is not just jobs. It's broken families, ghost towns, farmers who no longer believe in the brand or the country.
Teslas are being torched across the country. Dealerships shot up and set on fire. Spray paint to vandalize and make a statement. People in Southern California are getting notes on their Teslas, calling them complicit Nazis for owning electric cars.
Against this backdrop, Donald Trump delivers an angry speech. If they leave, they'll pay 200% tariffs. But this isn't just politics. It's a culture war. It's a challenge to everything Americans have come to believe in. And while old folks in Illinois are taping over John Deere logos and young farmers are switching to Kubota equipment en masse, cold math reigns supreme on Wall Street. Stocks are rising. Investors are applauding. They don't care about your village. They care about the bottom line.
Well, this feels more like a Tesla-only story when you look at just this fall in EV sales for them that they're suffering across Europe, down 45% in January. The wider EV market in Europe up 37%, so rivals are catching up and performing.
But this is only the prelude. Because at this very moment, while America is arguing about tractors and tariffs, another, much louder name is collapsing: Elon Musk. The man who was called a genius, a visionary, the savior of civilization. He is losing.
Does that help Tesla? I mean, you had Tim Waltz, who's a huge jerk,
Tesla is sinking in scandals. The promised autopilot turned out to be a dangerous illusion. People are dying. Investigations are underway. Lawsuits are multiplying. The SEC, the Justice Department, federal agencies, everyone is involved. Internal documents leaked online, in which engineers warned a year ago that the system was unsafe. And Musk, he remained silent. He continued to make promises, lie, and wriggle out of trouble.
Outperforming as well in some cases, doing better than Tesla. And you just have to think, how much more is this a sustained issue for Tesla going forward, given the fact that you have Elon Musk, who's been very forthright in his opinions, particularly weighing in on politics, particularly in Europe. We've just had the European elections, which Musk has been very focused on. But across the piece, when you look at the performance for Tesla in Europe, it's not just in small countries. There are a lot of countries where Tesla has been performing badly, including in Germany, in the UK, where it has been lagging, and Spain as well.
Then came the Cybertruck. The metal monster that was supposed to destroy the competition became a meme itself. Laughter, ridicule, customer complaints, order cancellations. Instead of a revolution, a farce. Instead of leadership, collapse. And when it all fell apart, even the most loyal employees began to leave. En masse. 15% of Tesla employees quit in 3 months. Engineers, designers, managers. Those who built the empire are now working for competitors, Rivian buyed Ford. While Elon argues with journalists on Twitter, others are quietly building the future. And Starlink? It lost more than 100 contracts. Countries are refusing to cooperate. Accusations of surveillance are emerging.
Well, you will hear people over in Europe say the new Model Y, the Juniper, could be a difference maker. But that's been in that market now for more than a month. And you would think that you would see a greater snapback if it's going to be a difference maker. Look, we could be wrong. It could be a difference maker once you get the sales for April, May, and June. But when you have a country like Norway, I think the sales were down something like 11% there. I mean, that's a very savvy EV consumer in Norway. And that's long been a strength for Tesla. Very small market, not huge volume, but I think almost all of the vehicles they sell there are electric. And they embraced Tesla long before others. And, you know, the reports there are not encouraging.
What is happening? The collapse of an empire, the real thing. No drama, no tears, just cracks that have become fissures. And if you think this only concerns Musk, you are mistaken. It concerns all of us. Because what we are witnessing is not just the fall of companies. We are facing the end of an era. And the question is, who will be next? It all started with a morning announcement that literally paralyzed thousands of workers and farmers across the country. A short message appeared in news feeds, social media, and newsletters. John Deere is closing several production lines in the US and moving them to Mexico. For most people, this wasn't just news, it was a slap in the face. A company that had been a symbol of American reliability and hard work for decades had effectively admitted betrayal. People who were confident about their future just yesterday were now frantically counting their savings, looking for alternative ways to survive, and cursing those who had once hung the green tractor logo on their walls as a symbol of family pride. The decision to relocate was not just an economic move, it was perceived as a cultural divide.
That's from the European Automobile Manufacturers Association. People just choosing with their wallets to not buy Teslas because of that Musk-Trump association. And actually here in London, an activist group called Everyone Hates Elon actually have been hacking bus stop signs with posters. I actually passed one yesterday. First, I wasn't quite sure what was happening, but it said the words 0 to 1939 in 3 seconds. Illusion here, 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds or something. But this poster was alluding to the start of World War II, and the image was of Musk giving that hand salute that we saw at Trump's inauguration that many have attacked as a Nazi gesture. Musk, though, has neither admitted or denied what he was doing. But we're seeing the knock-on effect of that anti-Musk anger across Europe and in terms of sales.
Formerly, everything looked sterile. A press release with neutral language, an emphasis on expanding global presence, and a promise to keep the core of production in Illinois and Iowa. But behind the facade of optimistic statements lay a logic based solely on Excel spreadsheets. Deere's management had long analyzed the competitive advantage of Mahindra and Kubota, which successfully distributed production between Asia and Latin America, thereby bypassing the most expensive links in the American supply chain. Mexico offered logistics that dramatically reduced risks. In a couple of hours, cargo could be in ports, ready for shipment to South America. Labor costs fell by 70%, and bonus tax breaks from the Nuevo Leon government promised tens of millions in savings. All this made the move not just profitable, it seemed mandatory. Within the board of directors, this step was called a corporate vaccination against old patriotism, which in their opinion was more of a hindrance than a help.
371. Most were saying 350 to 360. Now they're coming in at 336,068. Production of 362,615. So for some point of reference here, you're going back to Q2, maybe Q1 of 2022 in terms of the last time that they had production this or deliveries this low for one quarter. So again, Tesla deliveries worse than expected at just over 336,000 deliveries in the first quarter. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
That's horrible. Can I just ask Phil, how about the Cybertruck? How's that doing? You got a little inventory there in the Cybertruck?
But at the same time, while corporate lawyers in Chicago were fine-tuning the wording, all hell was breaking loose in the heartland of America. Donald Trump was the first to react. At an agricultural conference in Oklahoma, to the roar of the crowd and a backdrop of American flags, he made a loud statement: if they leave, there will be a 200% tariff. Every nut, every wheel they want to bring back here will be taxed like enemy goods. This was not so much a political statement as the beginning of a new campaign. His words were cut out, multiplied, and disseminated. Fox News, Breitbart, and even CNN devoted special editions to it. The reaction was immediate on one side, farmers applauding standing up, on the other, economists clutching their heads. But Trump knew what he was doing. He wasn't just defending workers, he was seizing the agenda. And in this show, Deere wasn't a company, it was a symbol of betrayal.
Over the last couple of months. But the other thing that this could potentially be is an attempt at readjustment or correction by the Trump administration, in that one of Trump's closest kind of allies and supporters, and someone who's clearly very influential in the administration, is coming out to kind of push back against the recently implemented policies. So I'm thinking, or maybe hopeful is the right word, that this might be a signal that the administration is considering walking back some of those policies.
The story quickly became a weapon. At campaign rallies, Deere's betrayal became a rallying cry. Trump's advisors developed aggressive rhetoric. Every shipment of tractors from Mexico was called a nail in the coffin of American industry. Even a specially filmed video of a former debuck worker tearfully tearing a John Deere flag from the wall went viral. In it, he said, "I was born in these walls, and now I've been written off for cheap gasoline in Monterey." The video garnered 14 million views in 2 days. While the media debated whether the tariff was legally possible, anger was boiling in the hearts of farmers. Many of them had considered themselves part of a large family for decades. They trusted Deere as much as they trusted their relatives. They passed down equipment from generation to generation, lovingly kept repair manuals, and discussed every detail on forums. And now it turned out that none of that mattered.
We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
He praised all the domestic actions he has taken so far on immigration.
And I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country.
And spending cuts.
We are draining the swamp. It's very simple.
Amid the protest mood, rumors began to spread about a mass cancellation of orders. Allegedly, more than 4,000 contracts for the supply of equipment were cancelled in the first week alone. Although these figures have not been officially confirmed, anonymous sources said that the level of order cancellations reached record highs in mid-June. Videos of symbolic protests were shared on TikTok and YouTube. Farmers put their Deere tractors in for major repairs and demonstratively rented Kubota tractors. Some went even further. Banners with the words "Deere left. We won't forget" were spotted across Indiana. They were hung near farms, at city entrances, and even on the fences of abandoned warehouses. Meanwhile, Deere's management adhered to a strategy of complete silence. No interviews, no explanations, no meetings with unions. The only official statement from the headquarters in Moline emphasized long-term sustainability and the need for global adaptation. Internal documents leaked to the press showed that preparations for the scandal had been made in advance. Crisis communication scenarios had been developed, that response schedules, depending on the level of media storm, and even templates for Twitter bots. And yet, this control could not stop the main thing: public outrage. Because the issue was not just about jobs. It was about the fact that American no longer meant anything specific. And if even John Deere could leave, who would be next?
Tesla shares have slumped by more than 9% amid a fall in sales in Europe. The electric vehicle maker posted lower sales across 5 European countries, including France and the UK. Joining us now to discuss this is CBS News foreign correspondent Remy Inocencio. Remy, why do we believe these sales are dropping? What's driving that?
Sure. Well, Errol, basically what Elon Musk has been talking about over the past, say, few months, ever since Donald Trump's election back to the White House, that has been fueling this anger, this frustration, some even say disgust towards Musk, and they're taking it out on Tesla. Tesla now feeling the pain. But because of what's happening here in Europe, Tesla sales fell by nearly half across the continent just last month, 45%.
Bloomberg experts called the move to Mexico insensitive but perfectly calculated. CNBC went even further, with one analyst on the morning show saying that in the age of global capitalism, pity is dead weight that business must shed. Such statements caused a wave of outrage on social media, but other principles ruled the trading floors in New York and Toronto. There, no one read the comments of angry workers or watched TikTok videos of farmers covering up logos. They looked at profit and loss statements, then a 37% reduction in logistics costs, growth in export prospects to Brazil and Argentina, and an increase in margins amid weakening union pressure.
Canada, the largest supplier of steel to the U.S., slapping new tariffs on $20 billion worth of U.S. goods that are sold in Canada. And the 27 countries of the European Union imposing retaliatory tariffs on up to $28 billion worth of U.S. goods sold in Europe, including Harley-Davidson motorcycles and Kentucky bourbon. President Trump with the Irish Prime Minister visiting the White House today. The president suggesting his tariffs won't stop here, saying, "Of course, I'm going to respond." And tonight, right here, the new poll showing 56% of Americans disapprove of President Trump's handling of the economy. The number's even worse now on the president's tariffs.
On the same day, at an internal investment briefing, Citadel uttered a phrase that was later quoted by dozens of media outlets: "America is crying and we are buying." This became the essence of a new divide, emotional and systemic. While workshops were closing in cities like Dibak, shifts were being cut in cafes, and people were abandoning their familiar way of life. In London, Singapore, and Zurich, bets were being placed on how quickly John Deere would overtake Kubota in South America, and that bet paid off. But the real crack went deeper when it became clear that this emotional divide was no longer limited to agriculture. It spread to the technological elite, and at the epicenter was a man who, just a year ago, was called the last genius of Silicon Valley. Elon Musk, already weakened by scandals surrounding Starlink and meaningless tweets, now found himself weighed down by his own legend.
Hey Diane, this investigation really just beginning, and one of the key elements will of course be the surveillance video, and investigators potentially have a lot of it to work with as they try to figure out what caused this fire. We know that surveillance footage has been turned over, including video from each of the cars, which could prove vital to understanding what happened here, because each vehicle has its own camera system that works even when the car is off, and 16 cars burned in this fire, and right now investigators don't know what caused it.
It all started with a document that fell into the hands of Washington Post journalists. An internal report from a former senior Tesla engineer, dated January 2024, contained a chilling verdict: FSD, full self-driving, in its current form, cannot be safely used in urban environments without active driver involvement. In the presence of external factors such as rain, low light, and mixed traffic, the system exhibits unpredictable behavior. This report was not an isolated incident. Hundreds of internal emails, meeting minutes, and leaks from former employees showed that the company was aware of the problems. And yet it continued to implement the system, promote it, and most importantly, sell it as a ready-made solution.
After Trump imposed those sweeping 25% tariffs on aluminum and steel imports, the European Union retaliating with tariffs on up to $28 billion of U.S. goods. Trump making it clear this isn't over, vowing to respond in kind with sweeping retaliatory tariffs early next month.
They're doing what they should be doing, perhaps, for the European Union, but it does create ill will. And as you know, we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs. So whatever they charge us, we're charging them.
Canada also striking back with new tariffs on $20 billion worth of U.S. goods, mostly steel and aluminum, but also computers and sporting goods.
Review videos began to appear en masse on the internet, turning into satire. In one such video, the author compared the Cybertruck to a metal coffin on wheels and ended with a scene where the car got stuck on a parking curb. A joke became a trend on TikTok: if the Cybertruck collides with reality, the curb will win. However, the most painful thing was not the jokes, but the reaction of the fans. Longtime Tesla supporters began canceling their pre-orders and writing open letters admitting that they felt cheated. Chaos ensued within the company. Leaks from Slack channels made it clear that employees no longer believed in the product. Mass meetings at the Fremont headquarters ended with the dismissal of several top managers. 11 people quit the quality department at once, saying they did not want to be involved in technical suicide.
KTLA Samantha Cortese joins us live with more on the wave of vandalism in protest of Elon Musk and his role in Washington. Sam?
Hi, Sharon, Micah. The ATF and FBI are collaborating with federal, state, and local law enforcement to investigate acts of domestic terrorism surrounding Teslas.
Amid this turmoil, Elon Musk did not back down. He did not apologize, did not halt deliveries, and did not offer to redesign the platform. On the contrary, he continued to write on X that Cybertruck is the best car ever made, and that if you don't like it, you just don't get it. It was at this point that even those who had previously tolerated his antics began to turn away from him.
But they are not ruling out the possibility that this was arson. At the same time, as you just mentioned, there are groups that have been organizing ongoing and peaceful protests at Tesla dealerships around the world. These demonstrations targeting Elon Musk and his affiliation with the Trump administration. Italy's prime minister is said to be close friends with Musk, and there were reports that Teslas have been vandalized in her hometown in Italy. Diane.
This wave did not stop at the factory gates. Against a backdrop of falling confidence in Musk, a bill informally known as the Musk Amendment was introduced in the US Congress. It included mandatory independent voting rights for workers on unionization, a ban on surveillance of corporate messaging apps, and protection from dismissal for publicly criticizing management. The bill passed with rare speed for recent years, with support from both parties. A Michigan senator called it the first step toward restoring balance between innovation and humanity. 5 similar initiatives were launched in Europe at once. A wave of labor law reforms in the high-tech sector began in Germany, France, and Sweden. Even in Canada, where Tesla opened a research center just a year ago, the authorities withdrew some tax breaks and demanded an audit of corporate culture. Against this backdrop, Musk disappeared. For more than 2 weeks, he did not appear on Twitter or at public events. His press service remained silent. All that is known is that Tesla's board of directors held an emergency meeting without him, and according to some reports, consultations with lawyers on a potential change of leadership have already begun. Meanwhile, analysts at Bloomberg and the WSJ have openly stated that Tesla and Starlink are not just losing ground, they are being wiped off the map of the future. Falling stock prices, lawsuits, loss of consumer confidence, the departure of key specialists, and the undermining of institutional trust have created a domino effect. Now the question is no longer whether Musk can regain control. The question is whether anything will remain of his empire other than archive records, memes, and stories about how everything once seemed possible.